Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and participants from across the Caribbean and beyond, welcome to day 2 of the 19th Caribbean Internet Governance Forum. Can we get a warm round of applause? We have an exciting lineup of discussions, insights, and workshops prepared for you. So without further ado, let's dive into today's agenda. We commence with an electrifying start as we gather for the opening ceremony. I first want to invite SG, Mr. Rodney Taylor.
Thank you very much, Kevon. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 2. Very pleased to be a part of the event today. We had a wonderful day yesterday, in particular hosting our second Caribbean Youth Internet Governance Forum. Today, we have a number of distinguished guests with us. I'm very pleased that they took the time to join us, and in particular I want to mention Mr. Amandeep Singh Gill, who is the United Nations Secretary General's Envoy on Technology, joining us online. Of course, we have a hybrid meeting this week. We also have Mr. Chengetai Masango, the Head of Office of the United Nations IGF Secretariat. We have also, of course, our distinguished Deputy Secretary General, Mr. Nigel Cassimire, who will be speaking shortly after the opening remarks. We also have our esteemed partners in Mr. Nate Davis, the Chief Operations Officer for the American Registry for Internet Numbers, and of course his colleague Mr. Bevil, the Director of Caribbean Affairs at ARIN. Mr. Shernon Osepa joining us online, and he's the Director of the Caribbean Affairs and Development at the Internet Society, or ISOC, and we heard about ISOC yesterday. Mr. Albert Daniels also joining us online. He's the Senior Manager, Stakeholder Engagement for the Caribbean with ICANN. Mr. Kevon Swift here with us in the room. He's the Head of Public Safety Affairs for LACNIC. I believe we have some members of the media. If they're not here, they'll be joining us today. We have many other distinguished members here in the audience. So welcome to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning.
Good morning.
So today we continue. It's a little formality this morning as we kick off this session, and so we have very high-level representation, as I mentioned. We're pleased to have done work with the UN Envoy on Technology, Mr. Amandeep Singh Gill, through the process that is now taking place called the Global Digital Compact. And in fact, CTU has made several submissions to this. And I'm sure he'll tell you more about it. It's really coming out of what the UN calls our common agenda as they prepare for the future of the summit in September 2024 in New York. There will be a technology track, of course, looking at many global issues, but there's a technology track because technology is impacting us in our everyday lives and everything we do, every sector. We have issues, for example, like artificial intelligence we spoke about yesterday. We will be getting into that a bit more. Very pleased to have a representative from UNESCO to speak about that. And we're also, from our perspective, trying to build collaborations with small island developing states as well. And so we've made submissions through the Global Digital Compact from our perspective as small island developing states. And we've done that with the support of our representatives in New York, the permanent representative, for example, for Barbados, who represents Barbados at the UN. He made some interventions on the floor of the United Nations as well. And we're working to build that collaboration with our counterparts in New York and be more involved in the UN process with respect to technology, cybersecurity, and so on. There'll also be a very big conference hosted next year in Antigua called SIDS4, and we're also pushing for a greater discussion around technology issues from small island developing states perspective. Within the UN, IGF itself, we're pleased to say that we will be having an open forum. The CTU will be hosting an open forum looking at the Global Digital Compact and the IGF process itself and the multi-stakeholder model and how that has worked for SIDS and what different approaches that the GDC could take to ensure that there is in fact a more level playing field with respect to small island developing states. We'll also be having a booth there, in fact, and we invite our Caribbean counterparts who will be going to the IGF in Japan to share that booth with us so that we can share what has been happening in the region with the national IGFs. Again, we're pleased today to have representatives from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Haiti, Trinidad and Tobago as well, and as the Latin America and Caribbean IGF will be providing us with some updates on their own activities. Today we will also look at the further development of our Internet Governance Policy Framework. We've developed that over the years with our stakeholders, with the contributions from all of our stakeholders. And the objective is to provide some regional cohesion with respect to Internet policy. And we hope that that policy framework has been useful to our member states and our various stakeholders. So without further ado, I want to just set that context for today. We invite you to stay with us for the entire day. Please be a part of that policy development process, the review of the policy framework. We value your comments, your contributions, and we look forward to a very, very engaging session this morning. Now, shall I just go straight in to introduce our first speaker, who is the UN Envoy on Technology, Mr. Amandeep Singh Gill.
Yes, I'll let you do that. I just want to let everybody know that if all of our panelists can turn their cameras on, because as soon as Mr. Amandeep Gill finishes, after his speech, we'll be taking some photos, all right?
Great, wonderful. Over to you, Mr. Amandeep Singh Gill, and thank you for taking the time to join us, always willing, ready to participate in our regional development process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Secretary General Taylor, dear Rodney, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to participate in and speak to the meeting of the Caribbean Internet Governance Forum. The Internet is a unique and extraordinary global resource, and its governance too is carried out in a unique multi-stakeholder manner that involves governments, the private sector, civil society, and the technology community. Keeping the internet open, free, secure, and inclusive is a crucial global priority. For the small island developing states, it is literally a matter of life and death. This Internet Governance Forum that was set up in 2005 has stood the test of time. When we meet in Kyoto in October, we look back at 18 years of Internet governance with the Internet Governance Forum at the center of Internet Governance Forum discussions. This approach has kept the Internet running smoothly, even through geopolitical shocks and major disruptions such as the COVID-19 pandemic, when a surge of more than 1.5 billion users came online for the first time. The internet didn't break. In fact, it provided a crucial lifeline to millions of people who worked from home, who studied from home, and kept in touch with loved ones and could access healthcare through applications built on the internet. Now, as Secretary General Antonio Guterres Technology Envoy, it is part of my functions to support the Internet Governance Forum and other multi-stakeholder bodies that uphold this open, free, secure, and inclusive internet. We are embarked, as Rodney mentioned, on a very important negotiation process on the Global Digital Compact, which will be adopted at the Summit of the Future next year in September. The IGF has provided inputs to the Global Digital Compact process. And again, as Rodney noted, very interesting, very substantive inputs have come from the Caribbean community. The Caribbean delegations in New York have participated actively and underlined several important themes, chiefly the need to address the digital divide and go beyond connectivity gaps to meaningful access gaps and on to data and AI divides. Through a comprehensive paper released in May 2023, the Secretary General has provided his own inputs to this process. In this paper, he has underlined that the Internet's long-established multi-stakeholder institutions need more support and not less. In this vein, he had launched last year a leadership panel to improve and elevate the work of the Internet Governance Forum. This panel is led by Internet pioneer Vint Cerf, and the vice chair is Maria Ressa, a Nobel laureate, famous for her work on freedom of expression. And the panel also includes ministers, technical experts, and leaders of industry from around the world. The panel is a crucial bridge between the regional, national deliberations, such as in the Caribbean Internet Governance Forum, and the annual gathering of the Internet Governance Forum, as well as policy discussions in Geneva and New York. As new challenges arise, in particular artificial intelligence, it's crucial that we keep pace with them, and our deliberations at the national, regional, and international level are better aligned to achieve seamless and coordinated governance of the digital space that helps us advance on the Sustainable Development Goals, that helps us protect human rights and human freedoms, and that helps us build a more inclusive, human-centered digital future. I want to conclude by referring briefly to the challenge of AI governance. Today, we must think beyond connectivity, beyond devices, beyond networks, about a data-centered economy. Who builds insights with data? Who builds value using data and AI? And for what purpose are critical policy issues today? There are gaps on AI governance that we must address urgently. The UN Secretary General is convening a multi-stakeholder high-level advisory body on artificial intelligence that will report back with options for global AI governance, which can inform the deliberations of the Global Digital Compact. I want to conclude by underlining how this compact can create a global framework in which states and non-state actors participate fully in shaping our shared digital space and promoting interoperable governance across digital domains. Until we do so, our response to digital cooperation and opportunities would continue to be piecemeal and sporadic. That's why we need to align agendas, we need to strengthen multi-stakeholder engagement, and follow up on the implementation of our commitments, including through the future Global Digital Compact. I thank you very much for your kind invitation, and I wish you the very best for your deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Singh Gill. We now want to invite all of our panelists to turn their cameras on. We're going to take a couple of screenshots and some photos to commemorate the moment.
Okay. All right, that's it.
Yep.
Okay, so, all right, the first photo. Thank you very much, everyone.
Good, great. All right, thank you. So we now invite our perennial partners and supporters of the CIGF to deliver on behalf of the various internet organizations. We will hear from ICANN, ISOC, LACNIC, and ARIN. Mr. Albert Daniels, Senior Manager for Stakeholder Engagement, Caribbean of ICANN, will go first to deliver his remarks.
Thank you very much. To all of the distinguished participants on this opening ceremony, we say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. The Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, ICANN, congratulates the Caribbean Telecommunications Union on convening this 19th edition of the Caribbean Internet Governance Forum, where important topics with regard to the governance of the Internet will be discussed and substantive actions planned for the future of the Internet that we use every day for business, communication, and social interaction. One of the issues which is growing in importance is that of universal acceptance. Indeed, two of the questions which came up in yesterday's session related to this topic. Today, there are more than 5.3 billion users on the Internet, over 60% of the world's population, with the potential to expand to billions more. These users have access to more than 1,200 generic top-level domain names, the majority of which are in English. However, there are billions of people who read and write in Arabic, Chinese, Cyrillic, Devanagari, and many other non-Latin scripts. Continuing the 2012 effort to expand the generic top-level domain name options through internationalized domain names in non-Latin scripts in local languages will help to further evolve the local and global information on the Internet. Universal acceptance is a technical best practice that ensures that all domain names and email addresses can be used by all Internet-enabled applications, devices, and systems. It therefore enables the private sector, government, and societies to better serve their communities through the use of an increasing number of new domains. Our organization, ICANN, the organization which coordinates the DNS, will soon launch an initiative that will provide people and entities with the opportunity to create a space on the Internet for their communities, businesses, and interests in their own local languages through the expansion of new generic top-level domain names. The primary purpose of this will be to foster diversity, encourage competition, and enhance the utility of the domain name system. We therefore encourage participants at this 19th IGF to closely monitor this issue of universal acceptance and all of the other emerging issues, and make appropriate inputs here to ensure that we get the best value from our deliberations. On behalf of ICANN, I extend best wishes for a successful Caribbean IGF and look forward to collaborating with all stakeholders and our partners in the interest of a stable, secure, and unified Internet. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Albert Daniels. I now invite Mr. Shernon Osepa, Director of Caribbean Affairs and Development at ISOC, to deliver his remarks.
Good morning to all. First, I would like to congratulate the Caribbean Telecommunications Union for organizing this 19th edition of the Caribbean Internet Forum. To the Secretary General, Mr. Rodney Taylor, for your vision, and also to Mr. Nigel Cassimire, the Deputy and long-standing champion on Internet matters. For us, it is always a pleasure and honor to be able to give a contribution to the development of the Internet. At Internet Society, we take the defense and promotion of critical Internet infrastructures and development very seriously. In fact, we do have a whole track focusing on several projects such as manners, encryption, and Internet fragmentation that should ensure a strong and resilient Internet. Also, we do have projects focusing on connected the unconnected, sustainable peering, and technical communities. We do support the Caribbean Internet Governance Forum and Internet Governance Fora in general. For us at the Internet Society, an Internet Governance Forum is not just another event. It is the platform whereby all stakeholders adhering to multi-stakeholder principles come together to address specific needs of our region. As the internet is transcending geographical borders, we too have the opportunity to transcend our knowledge and explore all the advantages of the internet. We do realize that still there exist some disparities in the Caribbean, whereby, especially in certain rural areas, people are not connected to the internet. We must do our utmost using new strategies, technologies, and partnerships so that no one is left out. Again, I would like to congratulate the Caribbean Telecommunication Union for organizing this forum. And to participants, both on site and online, I would like to say, let's do our utmost through knowledge and capacity building to protect this valuable tool called the internet. By doing so, we will take advantage of a secure, trusted, resilient, and open internet for everyone. Thank you and have a fruitful event.
Thank you, Mr. Shernon Osepa. I now invite Mr. Kevon Swift, the Head of Public Safety Affairs at LACNIC, to deliver remarks.
Thank you very much, Karen. Good morning to everyone here in the room. Good morning to all of you who are connected online. I bring you greetings on behalf of LACNIC, the Latin American and Caribbean Internet Addresses Registry, in the celebration of this 19th Caribbean Internet Governance Forum here in Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, kudos must be extended to Secretary General Rodney Taylor, Deputy Secretary General Nigel, Cassimire, and their team for providing yeoman service to the multi-stakeholder Caribbean community on this very important issue of internet governance. They have been the long-standing servants of this process, and of course, there's a lot more for us to do as a multi-stakeholder community. I want to take this time to ask in this room, and by a show of hands, who are familiar with the names of the Barbadian Alan Emtage? Okay, I see one person. Or Jamaican Peter Harrison? All right, I see someone else. So yesterday in our conversations, we mentioned in passing that the Caribbean was a bedrock of excellence and still is a bedrock of excellence. Alan Emtage is the Barbadian national who was based in Canada that created the world's first search engine, something called the Archie server. And similarly, we have Peter Harrison, who was instrumental in Silicon Valley for rolling out, for instance, the internet video technology at Netflix. This all goes to show that we are not short of excellence and capacity in the Caribbean, but it doesn't only mean that we have to be based in North America. There are very much pioneers who are based here in the region. First thing that comes to mind would be Camille Selvon with the Caribbean Anime Program, and of course the creators of local rideshare and other shared economy apps. We have a lot of talent right here in the region, and excellence when it comes to internet and internet development can occur at any point of this network of networks. Our vision at LACNIC is to build community for a better internet. And in building community, we like to recognize the contributions of folks like Alan or Peter, but we also build community in a number of ways. LACNIC is one of the co-founders of the Latin American and Caribbean Internet Governance Forum, a forum which occurs at the wider Latin American Caribbean level that has taken place since 2008 to gather the views of Latin Americans and Caribbean people across the region on what should be the main priorities that we should focus on as a wider bloc. I say wider bloc because it's really the dynamics of Latin America and the Caribbean. We also build community through the Leaders program that my colleague Paula shared yesterday. This is the research and mentorship program where we encourage independent persons to come up with policy inputs based on issues that they are facing in their communities and to also widely share their findings before their communities. And last but not least, we also have community building programs such as the FRIDA Fund. FRIDA is a fund for digital innovation where we recognize the works of people within the region to make significant impact in digital transformation in their region. And one of the most prominent FRIDA winners we have from the Caribbean, Dr. Kim Malalu, when she presented the M Fisheries project to that program. So the internet is a platform, and we, the internet actors, we do as much as we can in providing this information for you, in letting you understand how the internet is run, how you can become involved in its governance, how you can become involved in shaping the internet that you like to see. That is a very important point, and I want to probably finish with that point. There is agency within all of us to effect change. So while we can create the spaces, while we bring the information to you, while we show you how to overcome the learning curves of the various governance processes, it's really up to us, all of us who are paying attention either in this room or online, to really take the reins of what we are providing here and to really run with the internet that we would like to see. I'll say it for the last time, the ball is in everyone's court. Internet governance is an exercise that allows for us to do what we call representation here on behalf of organizations, but it also allows for direct representation. Your voice, your matter, your opinion. So with that, I'd like to finish, and I'd like to wish everyone here another successful 2 days of engaging conversations and exchange. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Swift. Now we invite Mr. Bevil Wooding, Director of Caribbean Affairs at ARIN, to deliver his remarks.
Thank you. Morning, everyone, and to those in the room and those online. I have to begin by giving the American Registry for Internet Numbers, ARIN's, heartfelt congratulations to the CIGF's Secretariat, so ably led by and faithfully led by Mr. Nigel Cassimire and, of course, Mr. Rodney Taylor, the Secretary General of the CTU, on this 19th Caribbean Internet Governance Forum. And I want to keep repeating that because this is a milestone achievement, the 19th year of championing the region, the issues central to how the region utilizes, adopts, manages, governs, not just technology based on the internet, but services that have become so central to all of our lives. This is one of the most significant regional fora. That is one of the least understood regional fora. And a big part of the reason for that is that duality is the fact that for so many, the technology that underpins the services that they adopt are invisible and with good reason unknown to them. So we have a region that has an increasing reliance on information and communication technology based on the internet, but very few voices that actually understand how to protect and champion and foster and facilitate the security and development of that underlayer that makes everything that we touch so important. And that's why this milestone, this 19 CIGF, is so fundamentally important to us. The internet touches everything, and it touches everyone, everywhere. And so if, as a region, we are looking at the very real prospects of increasing reliance and increasing dependence on internet technologies, it means that there has to be a commensurate development of capacity and competence in how we govern the underlayer that provides us with that critical public service. And to me, that's the beauty and importance of the CIGF as a forum. But it's also part of the reason why at 19, we are looking at the maturing of our approach, not just to the conversations that go around how we use or how we grow the internet in the region, but a growing of maturity around how we move from those conversations to action. And I know that has been not just the desire of the CTU, but all of the organizations that support it, to take this forum that has been so fundamental in shaping perspectives and gathering views and use it as a launch pad for new Caribbean action. And that's where I want to give the assurance and commitment of the American Registry for Internet Numbers and all of the organizations affiliated with this internet governance movement, CARIBNOG, the Caribbean Network Operators Group, the RIR community, the regional internet registries, and the other IORGs are all committed to standing beside the CTU in its quest to take this conversation, this multi-stakeholder interaction, to take the deliberations, to take the documents, to take the action points, and to actually develop an agenda that moves the needle forward. And that's what I'm looking forward to, not just over the next 2 days, but into this next season, now that we are 19, moving on 20. We're looking forward to supporting the CTU in the translation of IGF conversation into Caribbean development action. And so, again, the American Registry thanks and congratulates the CTU, CIGF, and our regional community for being such consistent and faithful actors in this necessary conversation. And we encourage you all to also join us now as we move from conversation to Caribbean action. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wooding. Finally, I now invite Mr. Chengetai Masango, the head of office of the UN IGF Secretariat, to bring his greetings.
Thank you very much, and I hope you can all hear me. I'll give you another UN type speech. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to join you here on the occasion of the 19th Caribbean IGF. Organizing a multi-stakeholder bottom-up, open and inclusive IGF process for the community is an important but challenging task. I sincerely congratulate the host, the Caribbean Telecommunications Union, led by its Secretary General, Mr. Rodney Taylor, for supporting the organization of another successful Caribbean IGF. Not since 2006 has the governance of the internet been more in the spotlight or under scrutiny. We are facing a proliferation of localized policies, laws, introducing guidelines and standards and rules on internet-related tools and services. For example, as emerging AI applications are creating immense opportunities and unprecedented challenges, the number of laws suddenly has risen from only one a few years back to over 40 now. Before we decide, we need to discuss, because a wrong step into the way that the internet is governed may lead to its fragmentation, lack of security, and breach of rights online. This calls for remaining firm in our mission that has guided us for over 2 decades through the WSIS process and the IGF to maintain and preserve one internet that is accessible, affordable, safe, secure, and resilient, governed through a multi-stakeholder model. We have managed to do a lot in the past years, and we must continue advancing the process, establishing mutual cooperation and engaging new forces from all stakeholder groups to ensure we stand up to the challenge of the incredibly rapid technological development. The Caribbean IGF helps to do that. Your agenda for this year's meeting clearly demonstrates your commitment to a better internet, especially prioritizing digital inclusion, cybersecurity, capacity development, and the governance of artificial intelligence, along with other important areas. You are sending a very important message about the internet being an enabler for a better quality of life. It is a message well aligned with the UN's 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. As digital technologies are a proven accelerator of achieving these goals. Your work is not just focusing on the present, but strategically on the future as well. The Youth Caribbean IGF exemplifies your forward-thinking approach, ensuring that the next generation of experts and leaders inherits and skillfully advances the legacy of internet governance that we diligently uphold. The eyes of the global internet governance community are on the Caribbean region, thanks to you. Your outputs will serve as valuable inputs into the upcoming 18th annual IGF meeting hosted by the government of Japan in Kyoto from the 8th to the 12th of October, under the theme, The Internet We Want, Empowering All People. Thousands of stakeholders from around the world will gather in Kyoto to discuss various digital policy priority issues across over 300 different sessions. I honestly hope that you'll be able to join us on-site or online. There is much to hear and learn from each other. From the specific challenges that small island developing states are facing to specifically creative ideas on how to overcome them. I look forward to your deliberations in the next 2 days and wish you a successful meeting. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks, Mr. Chengetai Masango. Thank you to all of our distinguished speakers for their opening remarks. We now invite Mr. Nigel Cassimire, Deputy Secretary General of the CTU, to provide a review of the CIGF at its 19th review of the CIGF vision, mission, and its challenges. Mr. Cassimire?
Thank you very much. Hopefully I'm being heard. Yep. Let me just borrow this so I... Yeah, thank you. Sure. Clicker. Clicker. Oh, there. Thank you. Yeah, they'll just bring up my presentation. Yes, thank you very much. I'm Nigel Cassimire, and I have the privilege of giving you on an annual basis, a kind of an update of where we are with our CIGF. This is our 19th edition. I can't say that I've been to all 19, but maybe about 16 or so of them. So I've seen it grow from the first event in Guyana to now the 19th here. So next year, hopefully, we'll be doing our 20th, and maybe we'll be in one of the CTU territories one of the other CTU territories apart from our home base here at the CTU Secretariat in Port of Spain. So the title, as it says, I'll be reviewing what we've done, what are some of our current initiatives, and looking forward to where we'll be going next. Yes, there we go. So we'll have a very quick review of our achievements over the years, talk more specifically about some of our current initiatives and looking forward. CTU, the Caribbean Telecommunications Union, convenes this Caribbean Internet Governance Forum. We are an intergovernmental organization, so we would officially fall into the government stakeholder group. But we've been trusted by all our multiple stakeholders to convene this forum, and we've gotten significant participation over the years, and I'm happy to say that we move forward in a very healthy way. The CTU generally works in various areas of core activities, as listed on the slide. Harmonized policy formulation is one of our key areas. We do capacity development. From time to time, we coordinate regional projects in the Caribbean and in ICT. We certainly represent the Caribbean at multiple international fora in ICT, telecommunications, and ICT. And we also serve an industry watch function in which we advise our member states about developments in the ICT industry and the need maybe to seize opportunities or counter particular threats that might arise. So our internet governance work would fall squarely in the number 1 category there, ICT harmonized policy formulation, because our involvement, which dates back to 2005, came at the request of the CARICOM Secretariat, that's the Caribbean Community Secretariat, to address internet governance issues on behalf of the Caribbean. The CTU, of course, is the CARICOM institution that specializes in ICT, so it was quite appropriate for the CARICOM Secretariat to seek to have the CTU fulfill this role. So getting in 2005, the focus then was the World Summit on the United Nations' World Summit on the Information Society, which was having its second and final session at the time in November 2005 in Tunis, in Tunisia. And we got involved and took the approach that what we needed to do was harmonize and coordinate the views of our Caribbean member states to take into that UN World Summit. The way we did that was we decided, okay, let's convene a multi-stakeholder forum. It happened to have taken place in Georgetown, Guyana, which in fact is where the CARICOM Secretariat is located. And we had the first event, which we call the Caribbean Internet Governance Forum. We didn't know we were starting a trend at the time. But out of that came some harmonized views that were used to advise our governments who participated in the World Summit on the Information Society in Tunis. At that World Summit, it was noted that internet governance was a key matter in the output documents coming out of that Tunis summit. And one of the recommendations out of there was that we need to continue the conversation on internet governance on a global scale, and the UN initiated its Global Internet Governance Forum, which was first held in 2006. So we have, in the Caribbean, continued our annual Internet Governance Forum event since 2005, and the UN, they started in 2006, so we, I think, are justified in saying that we represent the oldest regional Internet Governance Forum in the world. So, and since 2005, our focus has been on regional policy formulation, harmonizing Caribbean policies in internet governance. All right? Internet governance, as many of you would know, is a very broad range of study. A broad range of technical matters and non-technical matters, social, economic, and all of that, because the internet pervades everything these days. So our approach has always been, what are the aspects of internet governance we think we need to focus on of highest priority for Caribbean attention? Because our small Caribbean states, we definitely have limited capacity. We can't necessarily handle everything all at once. But what we can do is use the capacity and the talent we have to focus on the things that matter most to us. And that has always been our approach. As we have gone over the years as well, we've sought to promote and accelerate internet development in the region. And we have done that by implementing certain projects that I'll mention very shortly, and also through capacity building. So our Caribbean Internet Governance Forum, the CIGF, is the world's first and longest running regional Internet Governance Forum. We are a non-hierarchical multi-stakeholder forum. We say the CTU convenes it, but all the stakeholder groups participate on equal footing, all right, as happens in the multi-stakeholder world. And we seek on harmonizing internet governance policy regionally and addressing matters of priority for us. An advantage, though, of having the CTU convene it is that it provides a pathway to influence government policymakers Caribbean-wide. The CTU reports to an executive council, which is made up of senior government officials from all of our 20 member states. And above that, the highest decision-making body of the CTU is the General Conference of Ministers, which comprises the ministers with responsibility for ICT and telecommunications and so on throughout all our member states. So through this pathway, the documents or the decisions that come out of the CIGF can be and have been passed to the Executive Council and the General Conference of Ministers of the CTU for their advice, sometimes basically to inform their decision making and policy making, and sometimes also we get advice back from them if it's not already incorporated into our multi-stakeholder inputs to them. So it's a useful pathway that I think maybe gives the CIGF as well I won't say a unique advantage, but certainly a good advantage over maybe IGFs in other parts of the world as well. So we've also sought to be more than just a preparatory meeting for the other IGFs, notably the global IGFs, because what we've done is we've, from the outset, sought to document our agreements, document our priorities, document our policy recommendations, and so on. And apart from being the first to convene, we might also have been the first to produce these policy framework documents related to internet governance as an output of the IGF. The CIGF in more recent years as well, probably within the last 5 to 10 years, has also sought to enhance the synergies with national, regional, and the global IGF. And the next main session of this event, in fact, is a liaison session where we'll hear from Caribbean, regional, and the global IGF as well. So 19 years, and I've listed some of the things that we've done here. We now can say we've convened 19 of these CIGFs, 2 Caribbean Youth Internet Governance Fora, 4 ministerial briefings, and in IG. We've also had 3 issues of our Caribbean Internet Governance Policy Framework. It was first, the first edition was completed in like 2009, I think then 2013 and 2016. All right. Apart from that, we've had other internet governance, technical and policy sessions at things like the CTU ICT Roadshow, the Caribnog events that we've worked with ARIN and others to develop and sustain. And with our partners as well, LACNIC, ISOC, ICANN, and so on. Other partners over the years as well, some of them notice here, Packet Clearinghouse, NICPR, that's the Puerto Rico CCTL, the Puerto Rico Country Code top-level domain operator, among others. All right. Interestingly, there is also in the Americas a significant organization called the South School of Internet Governance. And we were one of the early hosts for an edition of that South School of Internet Governance back in 2014, and it happened to. We've also, part of our policy framework in terms of some of the technical recommendations relate to the development of internet exchange points in the Caribbean. And to take up Bevil's point, action on the recommendations that we put forward. We have undertaken over the years, at least 18 workshops on IXPs in 14 Caribbean countries with the result that we now have, I can't say exactly how many operating IXPs, but 12 to 14 or thereabouts within the Caribbean here. So apart from documenting our recommendations, we have also sought to implement thereafter. We've contributed to regional and global IGF proceedings. We've, well, as I said, we now have multiple IXPs and 3 national IGFs in the Caribbean, at least 3. I mean, today we'll hear from Trinidad and Tobago, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Haiti. We've also had IGF event going. I don't think they actually had an IGF, but they've had IG-related events in Belize. So we are growing slowly in the last couple of years, and I suppose the COVID break would have helped to stall things a little bit, but we are at a point now where we want to build back momentum and, as Bevil said, take things forward in an active way. Apart from the policy framework, over the years too, we've issued guidance papers on different matters. IPv6 comes to mind, as well as IXPs. We've done things like a Caribbean cybersecurity framework. We've worked with multiple partners, apart from the ones named, but other CARICOM institutions, notably CARICOM Impacts, to produce the Caribbean Cybersecurity and Cybercrime Action Plan. All right, so lots of things and lots of involvement we've had over the years, and sometimes formalized via MOUs with relevant agencies. This is not to say that we haven't had challenges. While the successes have come, we've noted certain things. Internet governance hasn't really been a top of mind, say, for our governments in the region. We could improve the visibility of internet governance at the national levels and government levels. One positive aspect of of the global pandemic in that sense was that the value of remote technology or remote collaboration technology has been noted. All of our governments appreciate more the need for digital transformation. So we are trying to ride this wave of greater awareness now to try to push forward with our internet governance goals. We also noted limited reach and impact of our regional work. We got together at the CIGF, we produced a policy framework, a regional policy framework, but the extent to which it has been implemented at the national levels, some of the recommendations they have been actually implemented at the national level is, well, I'll say less than we would have hoped, for example. All right, so sometimes a lack of capacity in the organizations to do so. Sometimes it's a lack of awareness. Let me just try to bring back where I was. Yes, okay. Yeah, sometimes it's a lack of awareness within the community. And what we've done, well, I'll talk about some of what we've done, is for example, fostering the development of national IGFs, right? Supporting that type of thing, supporting our governments with the implementation of their various projects. Another challenge we noticed was uncoordinated interventions. All well-meaning. I mean, we're working now with our partners, and we are actively coordinating with each other to make sure that we don't work at cross purposes. So part of the challenge the CTU has faced over the years as well is in coordinating the interventions in the Caribbean community related to internet governance. So what have we learned, and how are we moving forward now with these things? Of course, we're collaborating, as I said, with regional and international partners, but we're also working and supporting institutions at the national and local levels. Organizations like ISOC chapters, the national IGFs that we've helped to foster. There are sometimes specific task forces or advocacy groups that we draw into our policy development work. Computer societies here in Trinidad and Tobago, we have quite an active Trinidad and Tobago Computer Society that takes part in internet governance activities in multiple organizations, not just what CTU is doing, but I can think of ICANN in particular. So we engage with these local organizations to execute internet governance activities better at the national level, right? And we do things like, or have done things like progressive awareness and education campaigns. I mentioned advocacy for the different policies. We've seen, for example, the Trinidad and Tobago Computer Society at joint select committees of parliament, giving inputs to pending legislation on any internet-related matters, which is the kind of thing that we want to foster. You know, develop that kind of capacity and drive an advocacy. We've supported the development of CERTs and CSERTs as the incident response teams in the Caribbean, and there are several that we are aware of. The CTU often associated with the CIGF events has had interventions to try to strengthen our country code top-level domain of operations. We haven't done one in a little while, probably since about 2014, but this is probably something that it's probably timely for us to take another stab at, maybe for next year's event. And we seek to implement and support projects in things like cybersecurity, IXPs, IPv6, and so on. One thing I could mention is that we, before I get to this, even outside of the CTU member states, we are in the Caribbean. We are the Caribbean Internet Governance Forum. So I think our experience and expertise has been recognized even beyond our CTU member states within the Caribbean. And we are doing a project to develop IXPs in the French territories as well. So I think the visibility and the credibility of our work is recognized. In terms of the organization of this CIGF and internet governance activities generally, if on this chart that I'm putting up, on the from side, this is pretty much, I would say, how we still operate. Well, no. We are somewhere between the from and the to, if I look at where we are today. But certainly from the outset, what happened was the CTU undertook the role to coordinate internet governance policies on behalf of the Caribbean. And we did consultations and mobilization, capacity building directly, but we also convened the CIGF, which brought together multiple stakeholders. And over the years, and as we go forward, we realize the need to have more local organizations involved in the implementations, in the consultations and mobilization at the national levels. So we are trying to transition onto the to side, where there are two important changes. One is the level with the NIGFs, the National Internet Governance Fora, or it's a generic name. It need not necessarily be called that, but it's a multi-stakeholder forum or multiple multi-stakeholder fora at the national level. Liaising with and coordinating with the regional Internet Governance Forum work. And one important change between the two is that CTU becomes, instead of the main convener, becomes a stakeholder within the Caribbean Internet Governance Forum. And the top level is taken up by some mechanism, which is our Caribbean Internet Development Coordination Mechanism. And it would likely be a multi-stakeholder mechanism involving all representatives from various stakeholders. We initially thought that might be a Caribbean Internet Development Foundation, but setting up that organization is, there are legalistic and different logistical aspects to doing that and sustaining that. So that hasn't quite come to fruition yet. It could end up being something maybe a little looser in terms of a collaboration of the relevant parties, but we are still, I would say, evolving that to its more stable final form. So the thing to note is that the CTU doesn't see itself forever as the main convener and organizer and chief cook and bottle washer associated with internet governance, but there is a vision towards involving a multi-stakeholder group in order to guide and direct general internet governance harmonization around the Caribbean. And that would be supported by strong local multi-stakeholder organizations at the national level. So looking forward now, we'll be continuing our thrust to develop our national IGFs and communities, working with Caribbean stakeholders to promote implementation of our policy recommendations, the ones that we develop and, for example, we'll be going through in this afternoon's workshop as we work to complete our 4th issue of the policy framework. As just mentioned, we want to pursue some sustainable multi-stakeholder arrangement for the CIGF coordination, or at least internet governance, Caribbean internet governance coordination going forward. We'll continue to enhance linkages with other IGFs and review our priority items on an ongoing basis. Our Caribbean Internet Policy Framework evolves. We've had 3 issues, and the reason for having 3 issues is that times change, new challenges develop, and we have to address them. So we're at a stage now where we need to make an update to our 2016 document, but this is happening in the context of things that are new things that are taking place. We're talking about artificial intelligence at this one, and our UN speakers this morning mentioned that some of the developments taking place, the Summit of the Future next year and so on. In addition to which, as far as the Internet Governance Forum is concerned, in 2025, there is also there'll be a WSIS plus 20 review of how that whole mechanism is working, and there might be new things coming out of that. So while we're in 2023 now, if we can be successful in issuing issue 4.0, I anticipate that maybe 2025 or 2026 might be another major review or update of our policy framework. For this particular CIGF, the 19th CIGF, our main related objectives relate to, we'll be discussing key current and emerging issues in IG. Some of them have been mentioned. I said artificial intelligence, accessibility and inclusion, cybersecurity and cybercrime, among others. We'll be dealing with it on the agenda as we go. We'll also be reviewing our IG policy priorities in our workshop this afternoon in particular. We have had yesterday our youth outreach in the form of the Caribbean Youth Internet Governance Forum, and well, I don't have to call Kevon a youth, but certainly a youth influencer, no doubt, a youth influencer host. We'll also, as said, we will be reviewing issue 4, and we'll be working to enhance the growth of our liaisons with and among our IGFs in the region. And we'll also take a time to look forward. There'll be time tomorrow to take just open mic inputs from the audience in the room and online related to our future developments of the Internet Governance Forum and the future developments of Internet governance generally in the Caribbean. So basically, what is your role? What can you do? We all need to get involved and make your voice heard. The unique thing about Internet governance is that everyone is invited and welcome. Individuals, corporations, students, whatever. Internet organizations, intergovernmental organizations, whomever. Right? The floor is open. It's a multi-stakeholder forum. We're all speaking with an equal voice. You can follow Internet governance content and fora on the CTU website and on the sites of the Internet organizations. Definitely actively participate in this 19th CIGF and its panels. And for the ones who might be a little more shy among us, you can also submit comments and feedback via email to cigf@ctu.int. I think that's all I have. So we do have some time if anyone might want to intervene and add some additional comments. I see the SG.
Hi, thank you, Nigel.
Yes.
Very good recap there of the history and
Yes.
development of the CIGF. You didn't specifically say the word multi-stakeholder advisory group specifically, like a Caribbean multi-stakeholder, and we are familiar with this multi-stakeholder advisory model, and whether or not that is something that we really should move towards. You spoke about a mechanism, right? And could that be the mechanism where we can then incorporate? And Trinidad and Tobago has been, I think, one of the outstanding communities, IG communities, that have established this multi-stakeholder advisory group that supports the running of the TTIGF. And I see Jackie is here, and she will, I'm sure, update us on the how that has been going. So that's my first thing. How can is that something that we should really give serious consideration to? I know there may be challenges and so on. We work with a lot of volunteers and so on, and it's not always sustainable to ask people to just give up their time freely. So we could also talk about funding mechanisms and so on. And then secondly, the UN Envoy for Technology this morning spoke about the Global Digital Compact. And of course, this is something that is being looked at the UN IGF this year as well. Our own open forum is discussing that issue. And whether or not, it is obviously going to grow in significance at the future of this summit next year, and whether we should look to incorporate those GDC discussions within this framework of the IGF. In fact, there are many parallels between the GDC and the IGF, and whether, and I think it's important for us to highlight the importance of that process, the GDC, to our stakeholders, and therefore, to what extent can we couple the two, as opposed to trying to find another process mechanism to follow that, and other UN processes that are taking place. UN is looking at things now like cybersecurity and developing conventions around cybersecurity and cybercrime. And therefore, for us to be able to track all of these issues within, one streamlined mechanism, understanding we have limited resources and incorporating the stalwarts that we all know very well within the region. And then lastly, you did mention the national IGFs. And I would say that perhaps as we move the CIGF throughout the region as we like to do, I think this year we were trying to actually host in Guyana, that didn't work out, but maybe next year, I would say that to support those countries in particular that haven't had the national IGF, that perhaps it can be preceded by a national IGF, and then we can try to incorporate it to and lend support at the national level for national IGFs, especially those countries that have not yet had the benefit of having one. Thank you.
Yes, thanks for those 3 points. With respect to the MAG idea, it certainly is one of the things we have in mind. I didn't want to specify necessarily at this point in time, because we initially had specified a mechanism which kind of didn't work out. So I think, but that certainly is like a key recommendation that has come forward that we'll be evaluating. And that is, as I say, less legalistic than, say, establishing a foundation, right? So that might be a little more palatable and workable. So certainly we could take that on board. The second point was the GDC. Right. So you're right, and I wanted a little clarification on that actually. Are you thinking including those issues in the policy framework document is what you were saying, or?
Not necessarily, but provide a space within.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm saying right now it's a bit off the radar, I think, for most of our communities, most of our Caribbean communities. We've been involved for various reasons. We've made interventions, but I'm not sure the extent to which it is, that discussion is taking center stage here. And I think it's, in fact, so it could be that there's a new process that replaces the IGF, for example. That's how significant it is,
yes.
Right? A global digital forum or what have you. And therefore, I think it is something that we ought to give greater attention to.
Right. We could probably try to make some time tomorrow to just maybe talk generally about that, give some background on it. So that's a thought. The issue you mentioned, it could possibly replace the IGF kind of thing. So there, yes, there is that discussion going on as to whether the GDC would spawn a new international forum of some sort. I've heard that mentioned. I've also heard it said that from influential sources, we already need another forum. We need to undertake whatever work might come out of this using our existing fora. So that is to be determined. But the point is taken, especially since with the Summit of the Future coming up next year, that we could probably try to make some time to deal with that. The third point was right. Indeed. One of the advantages of our moving the CIGF around was exactly that. You build capacity in the individual countries that you go to. So when we did that before the pandemic, we typically had, like this year, a 3-year program, a 3-day program, and the first day usually is dedicated to capacity building, right? You get into some of the, and through that you build capacity on the ground in the local. For the past few years that we've been virtual, we've kind of lost that opportunity. But now that we're getting back, it would be good, in fact, 20th anniversary in Guyana sounds like a good idea, So, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So, and we take the opportunity to maybe try to spawn a national IGF in Guyana, and then we move on to another country and so on and so on. So that has been part of our modus operandi. In the past, before the word hybrid came up, we've had CIGFs with remote hubs. So I recall in particular the CIGF in the BVI, that we had in the BVI, and we had remote hubs, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, and one other. I forget who the third other was. So we've been doing that kind of hybrid thing for a little while, but now it has its own jargon. So we'll continue to do that. But it would be good to be moving around, developing local capacity, while also still retaining the remote participation with the CIGF. Right? So we'll continue to do that. I'm not sure if Jacqueline wanted to intervene. When Rodney was, oh, okay, right. Yeah, she'll intervene later. Ah, okay.
Have a hand up in the chat, Deidre. We do have a hand up in the chat from Ms. Deidre Williams.
Oh yes, Deidre.
Are we able to allow her to unmute?
Yes.
So Deidre, you can go ahead and unmute.
I did, thank you. Can you hear me?
She's speaking. Can we get some? There we go. Yes, we
Okay.
can.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
We can hear you
Okay.
now.
Thank you for having me again. Thank you for so far really interesting Caribbean IGF. The point I'd like to make this morning is that the internet is not just about technology. More and more since COVID, since AI, the people and the technology are coming closer and closer together. And the people who are getting close to the technology are just ordinary people. They're not techies. The Secretary General's advisor talked about, think about a data-centered economy, AI governance. That's people and technology. Kevon said the ball is in everyone's court, and I don't think he meant just techies. Bevil said that the internet touches everything, everyone, everywhere. Chengetai saw the objective of the internet being a better quality of life. So I'm asking for a big push to bring the end users in as agents, as people who have a real interest. Mostly, many of the end users don't realize this. They use the technology without thinking about it. I think the time has come when they need to begin thinking about it. And I'm hoping that the CTU and the CIGF can speed this up. And I'm wondering whether you have any plans to do so. Thank you.
The what? The NG? Oh, end users. Ah, right. Okay. Right. I don't know that I can't say that we have a specific initiative in that regard. You are an end user. Oh, that was Deirdre Williams, one of our faithful civil society contributors from St. Lucia. It's open, and maybe it is worth the while for us to consider what special outreach we can undertake. The CTU used to do its road shows, and maybe that's one possible aspect that we could seek to do again. You wanted to say something, actually? Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, in particular, yes. You'll notice from last year, maybe before that, I don't know, but certainly since I came, we joined in, for this forum in particular, we've reached out to social media influencers. And
Yes.
one of the reasons is we wanted to broaden the discussion, right? So last year we hosted with DJ Anna. This year we're hosting with Kevon Rose. The idea is to broaden the appeal, all right? So that we're not just talking amongst ourselves or to the same stakeholders, but to get the end user and to get younger people as well involved in the discussion so that they're at least aware that there's something called internet governance and that they can be involved in it, and it touches on them, and that the things that exist now on the internet, it doesn't always have to be that way. Things like monetization of content and so on. It's the way it is now, but it is not how it has to be. You can have a voice, you can say something, you can influence policy. And this is one of the reasons why we've sought to, like I said, broaden the appeal of the Internet Governance Forum by looking at people who have a following, who are influencers, who understand to some extent the space, and that's why you're here. Thank you.
Yes. We're going to get an intervention from Mr. Bevil Wooding.
I could just use that mic.
Oh, no, I think it's on. It's on. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's related to Deidre's comment and Rodney's response. The topics that we've been discussing under the Internet Governance Forum really haven't changed over the years, but the issues related to those topics and the consequences of those issues is constantly evolving. And this issue of widening the target audience, whether it is engagement of youth, the bringing on of the private sector who are not really fully represented in the room from the standpoint of their interests, it becomes one of the most fundamental requirements for evolving the Internet Governance Forum itself. My thinking around that, I can give a very recent conversation with someone who was asking, so is this 19 years of talking? And I think Nigel did a good job in showing that the conversations and the coalescing of these views has been really important in shaping the kinds of actions that have come out through, albeit unfamiliar groupings and fora like Caribnog and the IXPs, or like the internet organizations and the move toward things like IPv6 and so on. And those are important. But if you think of the internet and the digital economy that it supports as a series of layers, the more groups we engage, the more nuanced the conversations have to become. They can't remain as technical conversations. They can't remain as engineering conversations. They now have to touch issues that impact the citizens in a very real way, whatever their angle of sight into this internet-enabled world might be. And in a very real way, that means for us identifying problems as the start point, not technology as the start point. So whether the problem is the integration movement in the Caribbean and the free movement of goods and services, or it is, I really, really want to start a digital business, but I'm having the headache of a time dealing with some arcane public sector structures and systems to get my business going, or I can't deal with the banks to get to my digital payment solution. Those things change what the conversations in this room and in this wider forum will ultimately look like. And to me, part of the MIST movement from policy positions into development accelerating action involves shifting how we frame what the forum means for the Caribbean citizens. And I think that really is a challenge of our collective future. Now that we are 19 going on 20, what does the conversation look like? The issues that it touches may be the same: artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, critical internet infrastructure. But the translation of that into human, relevant activity, to me, represents a shift that has to take place. And that's why when Kevon says something like, we all have a part to play, we can't sit as an insular group and determine what the priorities are for these other groups, and have someone translate the traditional, if you will, language of the CIGF into a way that says we can now mobilize for action around this issue or that issue or the other issue. And I mean, that's the exciting thing about the future that we're looking at now. We have an opportunity to engage, and we have an opportunity to transform the region for real.
Yeah. Just wanted to add one last thing to that. There is definitely a public awareness side to things that needs to be improved. And those are with the actors, so not just here in the room. I'm thinking of Internet Society chapters and other associations that come together who are somewhat aware of the arguments and probably need to go out on public platforms, take advantage of mass media to sort of domesticate these ideas and bring it to a lingo that ordinary people can understand. And in addition to which, a massification of knowledge that needs to occur, because I may be speculated here, but I think that the greatest base of internet users and creators are actually probably in a classroom right now or kicking a ball, but they have so much potential without understanding this world that we think that we know, we assume to know and assume to be functioning, but they probably need to be guided along those paths to actually reach their full potential. It's agency, it's in all of us, and we have to do a lot more. I think all of us are in agreement that we shouldn't just be thinking about events, but we have to do a lot more in this process of moving the conversation into the visions we want to see for the Caribbean's digital development.
Yes. Jacqueline. Morris from TT Mag.
Hi, I hope everybody's hearing me online. I just wanted to agree with Bevil and go in a little deeper on that. Because everybody seems now to be talking about technology as technology. And the point of technology, how we came up with technology, is that technology is the application of our inventiveness and our knowledge of the natural world to solve problems.
Correct.
That is what technology is. People have this idea that technology is this big thing. The first technologies were these sorts of things. And Theodore is reminded on the chat, WSIS was not IT people. WSIS was everyone. There were caucuses for gender, there were caucuses for native persons, everybody was involved, and we all talked about what our problems were and what we could imagine technology solving for us. And what has happened since we separated out, and we could talk about why they separated it out from 2003 to 2005, internet governance specifically, is that now everyone seems to think that this is a separate and different and special thing. And we need to go back to what WSIS talked about, which was the information society. And the tools follow what we need for that society. So we have to put society first, our economic needs, our social needs, all these needs first. Find the problems and then get the solutions, develop the technologies to support those solutions, because otherwise we're doing it back to front.
Yeah.
So when we get together in these things, why don't we have the Housewives Association, the Taxi Drivers Association, the fishermen, fisher folk? I'm supposed to, but it's difficult. But that sort of thing. And that's really just what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I think the CTU had recognized that, in the earlies, as we say, because of our work in the roadshow, where we took the technology out to different countries, and a significant aspect of that was the outreach to the communities that you mentioned, for example. Right? Some of them not quite aware that, there are technologies that could make their life easier. Right? And the roadshow gave us an opportunity to reach them in that way. I don't know the extent to which, say, they might feel the need to their boats and come to talk about internet governance in a forum like this. I very much feel that we have to reach out. We definitely have to reach out and let them see the value. Yes, I see. Oh, we have another comment at the back. This is Sean Melville.
Yes, hi. My name is Sean Melville. I just have a couple of questions. Based upon your presentation, read the Internet Governance Forum, and of course, sort of changing how it's functioning. So my question has to do with, is there like a traceability mechanism that allows for feedback and reporting on the recommendations, as well as the outcomes of the internet governance policies that you have, developed with the relevant stakeholders, right? Because sometimes, if you attend a forum and then you make a recommendation, sometimes you may not necessarily know when that recommendation has been implemented, right. In what way it has been taken into consideration. So that's question number one. And question number two has to do with, given the rate of development of technology, so we have generative AI, we have, a lot of fintech, etc. How can we speed up the development and implementation of these policy recommendations? So
speeding up, okay. The first one was, I thought I would remember it, but I didn't. The what?
Traceability.
Oh, right, yes, perfectly. you ask about how do we track and see, are we being effective in our recommendations? It's a valid point. And it's also what I would call euphemistically, it's a growth area for us, right? It's a developmental area. If you read our policy framework, it makes a specific statement that we need to be doing this, all right? But I'll say we haven't established, say, the formal systems for doing that. The closest thing is that maybe as we review our progress at events like this on an annual basis, we look to see, okay, what specific objectives have we achieved? What specific things have we done relevant to the objectives that we have in here? So, and the examples we like to choose are the things like the outreach things, the development of IXPs and so on. So there are anecdotes that we can take out, but to your question, and even to our policy framework, it calls for us to track progress in a more comprehensive way. And I'll say we still have some development to do in that regard. How to speed up? How to speed up, the answer to that would probably be different for each one of the industries. You mentioned fintech was one of the ones that you mentioned. CTU has been involved a lot with fintech promotion in different fora, right? Even some that maybe we put together, right? But it straddles the ICT world and, say, financial regulation. So the pace at which that could be taken up might be different from, say, ICT in education. You know, there is less legalistic regulation to overcome there. You know, so it will vary. And as I said, to the extent that we have the resources, we will apply resources to specific priorities as exist in the scope of the policy framework. But it's a good question in terms of how do we speed things up. The way we speed things up is, I would say, identify priorities and forge the partnerships that we need to do in the specific sectors to push for progress.
Thank you, Mr. Cassimire. We are now going to take a 15-minute break to get some refreshments, stretch our legs, and we're going to be back with more of day 2. So I believe we can come back at around 10:50.
The previous year, because by the time we start, the theme for the 2024 hasn't happened yet. So that's why we're like a theme behind. The TTIGF is hosted by the Trinidad and Tobago Multi-Stakeholder Advisory Group. That is an organization, multi-stakeholder of course, it's in the name, that said that we manage and create policies for the .tt domain and also work in the Trinidad and Tobago space. So the TTIGF 2023 was January 26th and 27th. It was a virtual IGF, and we had it for pretty much 2 morning sessions. We had 374 registered participants. We average about 230 to 250 daily, day 1. Sorry. Oops. What happened there now? I went the wrong way? Ah, okay. So 374 registered participants. We used Eventbrite to register them. Between 234 on day 1 to 54 on day 2. In the Zoom room, we had a YouTube Live that had about 200 views on the days. 26 speakers, 5 partners, and 4 panel discussions. Ooh, that's not the right way. This is the right way? Right. Opening remarks, and the keynote addresses, we had Paul Mitchell from the IGF Multi-Stakeholder Advisory Group and the Minister of Education from Trinidad and Tobago. The panel discussions that we had, 4 topics. We sent out a call for topics and narrowed it down to these 4: internet resilience, implications for Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean, future-proofing ICT in education, digital government and society. The and get left out. Digital acceptance, transformation, and acceleration for Trinidad and Tobago, and the art of cybersecurity, attacks, risks, and threats. Of the sessions, we included a LACNIC panel, a sum up and regional cybersecurity culture insight, and the open forum, which is a feature of IGFs, and we always have that. So the first panel I'm going to talk about, internet resilience, implications for Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean. Moderator, great panelists. That's one thing we have been very lucky in, that we get really good panelists all the time. I'm giving you just a summary of some of the things that came out of that panel. They talked about the challenges faced by Trinidad and Tobago in building a resilient internet ecosystem, including the need for improved infrastructure, cybersecurity, and digital literacy. The importance of collaboration between stakeholders, including the government, private sector, and civil society, in addressing the challenges, and the need for greater awareness and education on cybersecurity issues, as well as the importance of developing policies and regulations that promote a safe and secure internet environment. Just say one thing about this. You'll notice that some of these things are things that keep coming up, but we don't fix them. And this is one of the things that a lot of people think IGFs are kind of talk fest. And there was a comment the last time, we need to start working on things in between the meetings. We do a lot of meetings, but what happens in between the meetings? Do these things in the meetings, these discussions, move forward into real solutions? So the next one was future-proofing ICT in education. I was the moderator for that one. And what we really ended up talking about was, everybody's talking about ICT in the classroom, but how important, what is ICT in the classroom? Do we just bring laptops like we have been doing? Do we bring laptops in? Or do we integrate ICT tools when and where they're needed in the classroom? And what do we need to do to achieve the goal? Teachers need training and support to effectively use it. Basically, they need to know when to use it, when not to use it, what kind of technology to use, because as I said before, technology is not only ICT. Technology is any sort of thing that we have done to solve a problem. So the importance of ensuring that students have access to the necessary technology and infrastructure. We gave out laptops. Everybody knows we gave out laptops, but then those students didn't have electricity. Those students didn't have internet. So you would have the laptop, but how can you use it at home when you've not got electricity? You got an oil lamp. Wasn't very helpful. So we need to make sure that we use the appropriate technologies for what we have, and that we also improve the infrastructure so that children everywhere can start utilizing the technology we have. Educational technology. We talk about ICT, but do we talk about educational technology? That is technology that is designed to support learning. We use a lot of tools that aren't necessarily designed to support learning. We find PowerPoint. Oh yeah, PowerPoint. We're going to start using PowerPoint in the classroom. But all that does is make it easier for the teacher to stop writing on the board. But does that change? Does that improve the way people are learning? Which is where we come to the last part, the importance of innovation and creativity in developing new solutions to address the challenges faced by educators. And I can talk about this because this was the panel I do, because that's my space, education technology. And then we had, digital government and society, digital acceptance, transformation, and acceleration for Trinidad and Tobago. Yet again, we had some excellent panelists. And really, what they talked about was where are we on our digital transformation journey, and how can we accelerate it? Because the pandemic forced an acceleration and jumping into this thing. And we had all the plans and we were going like nice and slow, and then we realized, wait, no, we've got to fly into this. So how do we accelerate it but not leave out things, not rush? So we talked about the need for digital infrastructure, including internet connectivity as a basic utility and absolute necessity. So the same way that the government builds roads, should the government give a minimum internet capacity available to everyone? And then you pay. Those are some of the ideas that came up, right? The importance of considering the needs of all citizens in the digital transformation process. They talked about the poor and less fortunate. There's the elderly. There's persons with, I'm trying to find the politically correct term. Disabilities. Yeah, okay. Persons with disabilities, language issues. We need to think of all of these people in the digital transformation process. For example, we've got people now, the banks are trying to send everyone into online, to use online banking, but there are many, many people who just can't wrap their heads around it. They're not accustomed to the computer, and they're not digitally literate, and this is where people lose their money. This is where they get scammed, because they hustle them forward into that space, and that space is not designed to keep them safe while they transact their business. We assume a lot of things about people and who's going to use it. Yes, the government should focus on creating a digital ecosystem that is inclusive, secure, and accessible to all. Digital literacy and education to ensure that citizens are prepared, and of course collaboration, because this is a theme that came up a lot, because obviously nobody can do it by themselves. Collaborate. Everybody needs, as Kevon was saying earlier, everybody needs to get involved in this. Everybody needs to put a hand. And the last panel was the art of cybersecurity: attacks, risks, and threats. And this was like a lot of cyber people. They had a lot of people had a lot of fun with this one. And they talked about the multi-layered approach, the strategies for cybersecurity. They talked about the tools you can use, like a security operations center, basic cybersecurity practices for organizations, certification and training for professionals in the field, because a lot of people just hang out the shingle and say, hey, I'm a CIGF person, and you're a small or medium or micro enterprise. You say, okay, I can't afford the big guys. You say you're good, and then you come in there and boom, your whole business goes down. You know? An incident response plan and being able to react quickly, and public relations, because as we know, we've been hearing a lot of things. The AG's office was the victim of a cyber attack, and the public relations was not really that good. They didn't really explain what went on. But a lot of times you want to say, I don't want to let people know that this happened because they need to have trust in me. But it always gets out. Somebody talks. So you might as well plan your business so that if somebody talks, that you get out there and you explain it in a way that does not destroy the trust in your company. And make sure that people understand that you have fixed these things, these are improved. Massey, for example, is doing, they were good with their public relations with that. And the strategy. A lot of people just put the little band-aids in place, but we need a comprehensive cybersecurity strategy that includes risk assessments, vulnerability assessments, penetration testing, education, and a lot of other things.
And that's the organizational level, correct?
Huh?
That's the organizational level.
That's the organizational network. That's your home network as well. I mean, you just have to have, a lot of people, as I said, we go Vikey-fi. We toss a bit here, toss a bit there, buy this, shove that in. But we don't sit down and say, okay, what are the risks that I face? what strategies can I use, what strategies can I afford to mitigate the risks I'm facing. You know, because no, we can't all go and buy the biggest firewalls and so on and have a whole team. I mean, for my house, I don't have that, but I do have the tools that I can afford that make sure that I have a good security net around my home. The summary of the open forum. The open forum was a lot of discussion about the policies that were happening in Trinidad and Tobago, like the framework, the TATS framework on net neutrality, traffic management definition, principles and notifications, the need for digital infrastructure, including internet connectivity, and the importance of considering the needs of all citizens. So these are really repeating a lot of the themes that happened previously. Now, we are already organizing for 2024. It will be on the 25th and 26th of January. We will be hybrid. So please come out in your numbers physically as well as remotely. And the theme, the internet that we want, and our request for topics is open at, oh, I didn't put the website up there, igf.tt, not hard to forget. Thank you very much. Any questions?
So those online, don't forget, please utilize the Q&A section of Zoom. Put your questions in, and we can start to field questions from the room.
Thank you. Nigel Cassimire. The attendance, I think, was pretty good. 250, 200 and something.
Yeah, 347 pre-registered, 234 on the first day, and 250 something on the second day.
Right. And how do you promote the event? That
well, we are the TTMag, so we promote through our members, our organizational members. We promote via social media and also traditional media to some extent.
Sorry, will you be reporting at UNIGF on?
I won't. Tracy will.
Oh.
I'm not going to Kyoto.
So,
yes, Kevon.
Let me just repeat the question because they might not
sorry.
have heard it. The question was whether TTIGF would be reporting to the UNIGF, and they will do so via another member of the TTMag who will be on site.
Thank you. That was so much neater than mine.
Hi, Jackie. Kevon Swift here. What are some of the activities that MAG members do outside of the TTIGF to promote the outcomes or the discussions of the TTIGF?
Well, we have committees that work on these things. We've had some other events during the year, webinars, sessions, meetings. We participate in a lot of the international organizations, meetings and fora. Because we're multi-stakeholder, we're not, in ICANN, for example, we're not ALS, or we just have members participate in their own areas, in their own stakeholder groups, in the ISTAR organizations, because, we've been involved in LACNIC. Yes, we have many members who go to LACNIC meetings, and we come back and report and talk about them and to our members and that kind of thing. Anyone else? We have one over here.
Hi, Jackie, thanks. You made a really good point about the public relations aspects of responding to cyber threats. And then that followed a previous point about the hesitancy about some persons to even utilize internet banking and stuff. So what would TT Mag recommend for instances where, like the Massey example, they did a really good job with public relations, but then there's still a large segment of the population that will just hear cyber attack and not understand what's going on, and their data may be compromised, and I'm staying away from Massey because I'm not quite sure what's happening.
Yeah, that's part of why we talk about things like this in the IGF and in other fora during the year, because we do have a lot of expertise in the group. So we speak at members events as well. So for example, ISOC Trinidad and Tobago has webinar series, and Karen, you were in one a couple of years ago. And Kevon has been in, and Rodney, everybody's been in those. And so we work with our members as well. So when the Trinidad and Tobago Computer Society has something, TT Mag will support. If the ISOC TT has something, TT Mag will support, we will speak. So we work with the organizations as well as an organization, being like an umbrella group for organizations. You can't join TT Mag as an individual, sorry. Anything else? Anyone else? Yeah? Okay, well. Oh, yeah, sorry, Trevor.
Yeah, hi, Trevor Pravat from the C2 Secretariat. Why can't I join TT Mag as an individual?
Because what we wanted is to have, if you have individuals, then it makes life a lot more difficult. What you have is organizations that neatly fit, because individuals do not fit neatly into stakeholder groups. Like, for example, I'm academia, I am civil society technical, I'm civil society regular, and I am also semi-governmental. And do I have room to put all those there? But I may wear a different hat at a different time. But an organization is much easier to fit. They can choose where they fit. Are they the organizations we have are academic, which is real clear, university, schools, business, NGOs. See, so it's much easier to manage that if we talk about the organizations. That does not mean that people can't, the representatives in their personal capacities can't participate across the board.
All right, warm round of applause for Ms. Jacqueline Morris.
Thank you.
I think one of the big key takeaways from Ms. Morris's presentation is we need to have a lot more of the public education happening if we want to sensitize the public to technology. One of the questions I see all the time is, why isn't the Caribbean adopting more of the technology available to them? I don't think we have a technology problem. We have lots of technology that either isn't being used or it's underutilized. The big issue that I see is the education surrounding how to use it and how to integrate it in your day-to-day life. A big example is in North America, in Canada, and in Europe, everybody treats technology as an all-hands-on-deck situation. So when you walk into the banks, and the banks were, 20 years teaching you about online banking, the banks had workshops inside of the branches teaching the public how to utilize online banking. When you walk into an Apple is teaching you, hey, here's how to use an iPad, here's how you can make graphics, here's how you can make music, here's how you can design games. You want to learn how to do mobile app banking? We're going to teach you how to use mobile banking on your iPad. So because we had all of these institutions or entities in North America and in Europe teaching the public how to utilize technology, over time that is how it became sensitized. When we look around the Caribbean, there's almost nowhere you can go for the public to learn about how to utilize almost any form of technology. And when we do have a lot of our webinars and events, the education happens in pockets and in silos. So that's one of the big things that I would love to see, you know, whether it be the CTU, whether it be any of our entities that have some influence, if we could start to teach some of the corporate enterprises how to start to teach the public about how to utilize their technology, or even force those conversations, I think collectively we'll start to see more sensitization around technology. Thank you, Ms. Morris. And
let me walk across
yeah,
you.
no worries.
Let's try not to block you.
So next up, we have Mr. Willis Williams from the St. Vincent and the Grenadines from the IGF. Mr. Williams.
Good morning, everyone. I'm assuming that you can hear me. I think.
Hear you loud and clear.
Great. Good. Okay. My task is really to present to you a report on our IGF 2023 as it was hosted by the ISOC SVG, but it was also commingled with an exercise that was branded ICT Road. It was a ICT Roadshow, and the components of this roadshow was ICANN, LACIGF, IGF St. Vincent, and the Caribbean Forum. It spanned 3 days. It was hosted and held from between the 9th and 11th of August. Well attended. I'm really proud of it. I think we put off a pretty good show. In that session, we had remarks from ISOC president, from management, managing director of ICANN, from representatives from Caribbean, and present in the
Williams,
roadshow.
just
Yes.
one quick
Good
second,
morning.
Mr. Williams. Your camera is currently on. Do you mind turning your camera on so that we're able to see you?
Oh boy, that's a problem. Yeah, it's going to be difficult there. Let me see. Give me a minute. It's gonna take some time. Let me see.
Are you sharing a presentation as well, or is it just your speaking?
It's going to be oral, but I'm thinking I'll have to get proper lighting and all that. So I didn't plan to do.
Okay, no problem. You go right ahead. We're tuned
Okay,
in.
sure.
Go right ahead.
All right, I'm sorry about that. I didn't realize that. Yeah. Okay, so we had 3 days of participation. First day was IGF St. Vincent. Second day was ICANN, and the third day was Caribbean. And all the days were well attended, great participation. I am going to focus on the IGF, which was the 9th of August, 2023. The team for the Internet Roadshow was Internet for All, Securing Our Digital Future. But the team for IGF was the impact of digital transformation in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And this came about because in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we are now in the middle of implementing digital transformation program, which is a Caribbean project. Of course, this is an ongoing project, and it has I think a 4 or 5 year completion deadline. they are sort of midway in this project. ISOC with IGF teamed up with the management of digital transformation project, and we came up with an agenda that will serve the purpose of IGF and would also be of great benefit to the digital transformation project. We realized that in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, resistance to change is, like everywhere else, is a big deal. And digital transformation was meeting and will meet some resistance, will meet some really some difficult questions. It will meet people with very limited knowledge, some with limited resources, some with reluctance to go into new things. And I think one way to really fix that is to start the education. That was agreed, and so we embarked on the whole exercise. Apparent in this forum was the management from digital transformation making presentations on open source technology, the opportunities for business with using open source technology. The digital transformation project, as if there's anything tangible about it now that people can see, covers the customs, the tax system, and the land registry. And those are things that we could speak about directly, that people could feel and touch and see that there are changes coming and get a chance to air their questions, their worries about it, their fears, and so on. And that made for really vibrant information exchange, vibrant questioning in our question and answer periods. Those things were a hit. It actually shows us that there's room for much more, and that the direction the IGF has taken, in opening up the society to these technologies and to these changes is the right direction. A little more of it has to happen. Not necessarily on an IGF platform, but it shows the way forward. We have to also acknowledge the fact that although we speak of IGF and we speak of the other participants and players, the other presenters and so on, we must acknowledge sponsors, because it is really a society affair. We had sponsors from the NTRC, VINLEC, which is the electricity company, Flow, and Digicel, all players with interests in the field, and all eager to get proper buy-in and take up from the general public on these matters. We had an audience of, I would say, well, on the first day we had 57 walk-in sitting participants. Second day, 38, and on the third day we had 65. We had 103 or so registrations overall over the period online, and from time to time throughout the day we had various numbers of people on our YouTube feed. I would say the interaction overall was great. There were many probing questions and generally an expression of interest, which begs forums of this kind, which beg for more forums of this kind. And We also have to say thanks to the affiliation with ICANN, Caribnog, CTU. We always in touch. Present at this forum as well, although not necessarily from a CTU standpoint, was Bevil Wooden, who made a great presentation and answered a lot of questions, but also created a lot more in his presentation. The things he's opened us up to, security and so on, there are things coming out of that, and people are now excited, and I'm sure he's going to be hearing a lot from St. Vincent in the future as we mill on his thoughts and his presentation. Okay. And I think that's basically what I have to report. I don't know if there are any questions.
Room for Mr. Williams. And if you are tuning in online, make sure you post your questions in the Q&A section.
Yes.
All right, there are no questions. Can we give a warm round of applause to Mr. Willis Williams?
All right, thanks for having me.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
All right.
All right. We now bring forth to the stage Miss Stéphanie Joseph, the president of ISOC, Haiti Internet Governance Forum.
Don't do that.
Hello, everybody.
Joseph.
Hello.
Yep, we hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Hello, everybody. And I'm very happy to be with you, and thank you, CTU, for the invitation. And imagine a space where governments, private sector, representative, civil society organization, technical expert, academics, and everyday internet users come together as equal to discuss, share insight, and collaboratively shape the digital future. The space is no one other than the Internet Governance Forum, or IGF. IGF contributes to building the capacity of individual organizations and nations to effectively navigate the complexities of the digital world, participate, share experiences, best practices, and lessons learned, fostering a global pool of knowledge that empowers nations to make informed policy choices. Today, our objective is to explore the synergies that arise when we share these national IGF experiences among our Caribbean counterparts. By sharing our experiences, we unlock the potential to learn, adapt, and evolve together. Our collective wisdom becomes a powerful tool, enabling us to navigate challenges and seize opportunities that resonate uniquely with our Caribbean realities. Weaving together the thread of experience, culture, policy, and technological advancement, we can paint a richer and more nuanced picture of how internet governance manifests in the Caribbean. Previous edition of our national IGF has successfully brought together stakeholders from across our nation. However, for the fifth edition, unforeseen circumstances forced us to pivot our strategy. The unstable security situation in our country necessitated a novel approach, national IGF hubs. By embracing this innovation approach, we defy adversity and found a way to unite despite the challenges. With the unwavering support of our dedicated members, we orchestrated a remarkable feat, mobilizing more than 100 participants spread across 10 different locations through the country. The resilience of our community shown as we come together in the spirit of collaboration and knowledge exchange. The National IGF Herbs strategy proved to be a resounding success. By decentralizing our event, we went beyond the confines of the capital city, Port-au-Prince, and other major urban centers. Simultaneous gatherings took place in Mirebalais, Tabar, Grand Goave, Carrefour, Cap-Haïtien, Delmar, Gros-Morne, and of course, Port-au-Prince. The distributed approach allows us to engage a diverse audience, ensure that the discussion resonates with communities across our nation. But our reach didn't stop at the physical hubs. In an area defined by digital connectivity, we harness the power of technology to include more than 100 individuals via Zoom. Additionally, the resonance of our event extends even further through active participation across various social media platforms. This comprehensive approach truly encapsulates the spirit of inclusivity, where physical location poses no barrier to engagement. We extend our gratitude to our valuable local and international partners, especially the Internet Society Foundation, one of our main sponsors, as well as LACNIC, IGF, and Loop Haiti. The resounding success of this unique edition of the National IGF was a testament to the dynamism and dedication of our community's members. Their unwavering commitment to driving positive change in our digital landscape form the cornerstone of this achievement. It was the shared passion that fueled the Innovation National IGF Herbs model and made it a resounding success. We also owe a debt of gratitude to our media partners who work hand in hand with us to amplify the reach of our event. The partnership was instrumental in ensuring that the discussion and insight from our event reverberate far beyond the confines of the physical gathering. Our journey for this National Forum on Internet Governance centers around a theme of profound signification: artificial intelligence and its challenges for the contemporary world. As we immerse ourselves in the fabric of this theme, we explore a landscape marked by innovation, complexity, and transformative potential. We have 6 topics. The first one, the Leaderless Program in Internet Governance in Latin America and the Caribbean. The role of the Leaderless Program in shaping Internet governance in Latin America and the Caribbean is a testament to the collective efforts that drive regional progress. Topic 2, artificial intelligence, its power and application for today's world. Delving into AI intricacies, we have navigated through its immense power and the intricate ethical, social, and economic implications it cuts upon today's global stage. Topic 3, artificial intelligence and its impact on education and content production. The transformation of education and content production under the influence of AI underscores the potential of technology to redefine how we learn and communicate. Topic 4, artificial intelligence in governance and the business world. The intersection of AI and governance, coupled with the shifts AI brings to the business's landscape, has sparked conversations that made a new era of responsible innovation. Topic 5, artificial intelligence, lessons learned in the future. Lessons gleaned from past experiences merge with future projection, painting a comprehensive picture of AI's trajectory and the questions that guide our path forward. And the last topic, promoting accessibility through the power of AI. We have explored how AI's capabilities can be harnessed to erase barriers, design a world where accessibility isn't a privilege, but a shared reality. With this topic as our guiding stars, we weave a rich tapestry of insight, perspectives, and shared aspirations. The journey we undertake today extends far beyond this virtual forum. It's a collective commitment to shaping a future where AI enriches lives, fosters equity, and empowers of all. As we continue our exploration, may the discussions illuminate new horizons, kindle collaborations, and seed solutions. Let's build bridges between knowledge and action, ensuring that our reflection today find resonance in the actions we take tomorrow. As we embark on the journey of sharing national internet governance forum experiences among our Caribbean counterparts, we have not exchanged stories. We are delving into the unique chapters that make up the digital narrative of each nation. In conclusion, the fifth edition of our National Internet Governance Forum was not just a discourse on artificial intelligence. It was a testament to our collective ability to adapt, collaborate, and overcome challenges. The National IGF Herbs strategy demonstrates the power of innovation, resilience, and inclusivity in shaping our digital future. As we reflect on this journey, let us be inspired to continue charting new paths, breaking boundaries, and assuring that no voice is left unheard. Thank you, and let us forge ahead together into a future defined by collaboration and progress.
Thank you, Ms. Joseph, for taking your time and delivering the presentation in English. We know, I wish I could have spoken French because I know you would have killed it. Quick question, if we have any questions, please put them in the chat. In the Q&A section, sorry. And if we have any questions in the room for Ms. Joseph, please raise your hand. We'll give a mic over to you. We're seeing lots of support. Good presentation from the president of ISOC Haiti. That's from Ms. Betty Foster. We've seen some comments earlier from Ms. Deidre as well. We have one in the room. All right. Good.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Joseph, pour votre contribution pendant ces discussions. Thank you so much for your intervention and for, accommodating the Anglophones in the room because we know it's not. But we're looking forward to hopefully having these meetings in multiple languages. It's something that we are also working on at the UN, bringing multilingualism into the mix. I was hoping that you could maybe talk a little. Sorry, my name is Lika Diouf. I work at the United Nations Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean here in Port of Spain. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what were the major challenges that you identified when it came to AI in particular, when it comes to Haiti, and what kind of support do you envisage that you would need from the international organizations and the communities that are out here?
Stephanie, you still with us? Ah, there she is. You're on mute at the moment. You're on mute. There we go.
Hello?
Perfect. We're hearing you now.
Yes, I lost a part of the intervention.
Sorry. I'll try. I'll be shorter. What are the major challenges that you identified when it comes to AI in the situation of Haiti, and what support do you think you would need from the international community and organizations?
Okay, for us in Haiti, AI is like a new knowledge, and at ISOC we see that they have a gaps, and if we can find the support of international organization, we can bring more in webinar or work session about AI to introduce in Haiti this knowledge for all people.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other questions in the room? We have one more? Oh, we have one online. All right, Faith?
This question is from Erica P. Harris. It goes, do we have the data to show the difference between low bandwidth and privacy concerns when persons choose to have the cameras off when they aren't actively participating? Do you need me to repeat?
I think that one is for us internally.
Oh, so who they are?
Yeah, no worries. That question's for us internally. All right, Ms. Joseph, thank you very much for your presentation. Can we get a warm round of applause? Okay, so moving on, we have up next Miss Lilian Chamorro Rojas, the coordinator of the Latin American and Caribbean Internet Addresses Registry.
Good morning to all. We appreciate the space given to the Latin American and Caribbean Internet Governance Forum, the LACIGF, to participate in this meeting. We are pleased to see that the Caribbean region meet to discuss the internet governance issues and present the points of view of different sectors to identify agreements and recommendations. Well, LACIGF is a multi-sectoral process that seeks to be a space for open dialogue where all stakeholders participate on an equal footing to identify public policy recommendations and collaborative strategies. LACIGF was one of the first spaces formed in 2008 with the impetus of the results and agreements of the World Summit of the Information Society, from which ILAC also emerged. Within this framework, LACIGF was initially established as an initiative of three organizations: LACNIC, the NUPEF Institute from Brazil, and the Association for Progressive Communications, APC. First, as a preparatory meeting for the Global Internet Governance Forum, but from there it has evolved from being an initiative convened by specific organizations to becoming a process with representation from multiple stakeholders that seeks to respond to the evolution of the global internet governance agenda and give impetus to the construction of a regional agenda. The evolution and motivation around strengthening ties in the Latin American and Caribbean community is highlighted. The LACIGF has a program committee that has representation from different stakeholders and that together with LACNIC has ensured the holding of annual events that has been linked to the global IGF process. In recent years, LACIGF has made efforts to improve the process to consolidate mechanisms for inclusion and participation from different perspectives, incorporating intersessional work components, looking for it not only to be an annual event, but also for different actors to interact and establish work dynamics among annual LACIGFs. After an extensive consultation process, new statutes have been formulated that have been publicly communicated, and we call on the different actors to find out. These seek to strengthen the participation of different sectors and the regional community, strengthen the processes with the incorporation of instances of the intersectional work, and in addition to giving greater legitimacy to the process by making it more participatory. The pandemic had an impact on the dynamics of the LACIGF. Since 2008, face-to-face events had been held with a call for a country application to host the event. With confinement, this changed. However, efforts were maintained to hold an annual event that was held virtual until 2022, ensuring that a relevant agenda for the actors can be sustained. During this time, progress has been made in the participatory construction of the agenda with consultations with the community. An effort has also been made to make contributions to important processes that are defining guidelines for the digital future in the region. The previous edition of LACIGF was focused on discussing the themes established by the Global Digital Compact, prioritizing by the Latin American and Caribbean community to generate a contribution that was sent in response to the call made by the United Nations Office in this regard. The topics were: connect all people to the internet, including schools, informed by the session of the LACIGF towards meaningful connectivity for all, challenge, lessons, and proposals from Latin America and Caribbean. Apply human rights online, informed by the session 2 of the LACIGF, protecting human rights in digital environments in Latin America and the Caribbean. Protect data, informed by the session 3 of the LACIGF, myths and realities around data protection in Latin America and the Caribbean. Accountability criteria for discrimination and misleading content, informed by the session 4 of the LACIGF, who oversees the internet, responsibility of misleading content, reflections from Latin America and the Caribbean. They were proposed pathways to advance connectivity for all, the protection of human rights in digital environment, proposals on data protection considering the challenges, providing good practices and lessons learned within the Latin American and the Caribbean. Now, we are in the process of implementing the new statutes. It has begun with the formalization of the executive secretary through an open selection process. Colnodo, an organization from Colombia, was selected to exercise the responsibility, and together with the program committee, continue advancing in the new orientations that establish the new statutes. Part of the intersessional work will be to call a workshop selection committee, which is expected to promote a change in the LACIGF formats that until now have focused on main sessions. The aim is to have a more inclusive and diversified format. This will be a progressive process that is expected to be in operation the following year. This process of implementation of the new statutes and revitalization of LACIGF occurs at an important moment in which various processes are being carried out, aimed at redefining internet governance and digital governance in the future, including the Global Digital Compact, the Summit of the Future, the proximity of the Plus 20 evaluation of the World Summit of the Information Society, where the mandate of the Global IGF should be reviewed, and also a Summit of Sustainable Development Objectives. So guidelines for the digital future are being defined, and LACIGF has an important role in this stage. One of the important processes is taking place is the collaboration between Latin America and Europe to strengthen the process in cooperation with the European Union. We want to invite the IGF community of the Caribbean to get closer to the LACIGF process. Both the intersessional work and the annual event depend on the proactivity and interest of the different interested parties. We can jointly inject energy and participation into the process. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rojas. If we have any questions, please utilize the chat. We do have a question in the room.
Thank you very much, Lilian, for the presentation. We did have a little problem with the sound from time to time, so I'm not sure if you said it, but have you all decided any time to convene the 2023 LACIGF as yet?
We are doing efforts to have a LACIGF this year. We are working that we hope in November, at the end of November, we will have our event, but we are preparing still the conditions for the event.
Okay, so you're hoping the end of November, and there is a youth LACIGF taking place this month?
Yes, this month there is a youth LACIGF taking place in Cartagena in Colombia, and we are participating in this space also.
Okay, thank you.
And do we have any other questions in the room? Okay. Thank you for your remarks, Ms. Rojas. Can we get a warm round of applause again? And if you're online, please utilize the reactions. Go into the Zoom reactions. Please put the round of applause in there, the 100s, the fires. We see them coming in. Beautiful. Utilize them. Nice. They're coming in. All right. Next up, we are going to be hearing some insights from Ms. Anja Gengo from the United Nations IGF Secretariat. Ms. Anja?
Yes, thank you very much, and good afternoon from Geneva. Great pleasure to join you also today on the occasion of the Caribbean IGF. It started wonderful with many senior stakeholders sending very important messages. And it's going even better now after listening to a couple of my colleagues running the national IGFs, also the regional LACIGF. It's always so inspiring, and I'm always in admiration toward the excellent work that colleagues are doing and making really concrete changes with respect to not just digital policy, but really, I think, in a broader sense with respect to the making just the lives of people better by helping them to integrate digital technologies in a safe and meaningful way in their everyday lives. I will, unlike my colleagues, I won't focus on what has happened in past, but I would like to focus on what is coming our way, which is the 18th annual meeting of the Internet Governance Forum. I'm sure many of you know, if not all, that that edition is hosted by the government of Japan in Kyoto from 8 to 12 of October. And you can imagine, all of you involved in organization of the Caribbean IGF, how busy the Secretariat is these days, especially also our members of the multi-stakeholder organizing advisory group, the MAG, as well as members of the leadership panel. All of us are working hard on ensuring that together with our host country, we have a wonderful, beneficial for all Internet Governance Forum and its annual edition. The Internet we want, empowering all people, that's the overarching theme of the meeting, and we are having quite an ambitious agenda for this year's IGF, given the fact that we received a record number of session proposals. Over 800 were received, and after initial clearance and evaluation, and the final official program features over 300 sessions organized by thousands of different stakeholders coming from different parts of the world, including the Caribbean region. And many of the now colleagues from the national IGFs who were presenting, as well as from the LACIGF, are indeed involved in hosting some of the sessions at the IGF. And it will be really wonderful to see some of them in person in Kyoto and hear from hopefully many of them online, if not possible to join us in person. So in all these preparations for the IGF in Kyoto, the NRIs, the Network of National, Regional, Sub-Regional Youth IGFs, is critical for several reasons. A primary reason is that we see the annual IGF edition, the forum, as an opportunity to strengthen cooperation among all NRIs. And the way we are doing that is through consultative process that runs throughout the year, where NRIs work on achieving a couple of objectives that they set in a bottom-up manner at the beginning of the year. So one of the objectives is to prepare and host a main session at the IGF, which this year is focused on data governance, but also to prepare and host 3 robust collaborative sessions where we have different NRIs partnering from different regions to work on unpacking issues related to artificial intelligence, digital inclusion, and cybersecurity. And then on day 0, which is basically the very first day of the IGF, so that's 8th of October when we are in Kyoto, the traditional NRIs coordination session will take place. Yesterday, when I had a great honor to connect with colleagues from the Caribbean Youth IGF, we did speak a little bit about how important this year is, and also the next one. It is important because, first of all, a lot is happening, as you can see globally, related to internet governance directly or indirectly. Within the UN, a lot is happening. I think the Tech Envoy spoke at the opening about also importance of the Global Digital Compact, of the Summit of the Future, of the vision that the Secretary General has for bringing universal access to everyone by 2030, by making sure that we really benefit from the use and deployment of digital technologies in a way that is safe and secure, conducive to human rights, and just respectful for everyone without leaving anyone behind. And colleagues before me spoke really about the value of us focusing on the fact that the digital divide is unfortunately still our reality. And it is always incredible that it is, because there's so much investment going on in the world, investment in capacity development, investment from a financial aspect into infrastructure. Yet again, the world is not connected meaningfully. We don't have infrastructure in place everywhere. Even if we do have, we are not meaningfully using it. We don't have reliable devices. Some groups are still quite marginalized. I primarily mean on the role of girls and women in some parts of the world, people with disabilities, young people, but also senior stakeholders, and other groups such as refugees, migrants, displaced persons. These are also very important groups that we have to think of very strategically. And there isn't a single country that doesn't have them. We just maybe differ in numbers and the way we approach this. But that's unfortunately our reality. The burden is on our generation, all of us that do have some sort of a potential to contribute within our capacity to resolve this. We should do that. And as said yesterday, in parallel to do that, we must be conscious of the fact that we as this generation, just as the generation before us that retired, we will not solve all the issues that exist on digital policy ecosystem or domain. So we need to make sure that the generations that will come after us taking the positions of decision-making and decision-shaping are indeed equipped with enough skills and resources to be able to do so. And that's why investment in young people is very important. So these types of issues are on the radar of the NRIs, collectively speaking as a network. Through these sessions, we are going to discuss them. On day 0, through that NRI's traditional coordination session, we are going to specifically focus on where we are now as a really powerful network of over 160 NRIs that grew significantly in the past couple of years. And what we need to do for tomorrow. As you know, in 2025, the renewal of the IGF is coming our way. When I say the IGF, I really think about the IGF as an ecosystem. So that means that once the IGF is being assessed, discussed by different member states of the General Assembly, that means that every single IGF in the world, as its integral part, will be also subject of a discussion. And therefore, it is a burden on us and responsibility to really make sure that we demonstrate to everyone who may not be directly part of our processes this huge progress that we have made so far. It's really a huge achievement to have a network of organically established autonomous national, regional, and youth IGFs across the world. And if you look visually at the map, we have such nice spread of these initiatives, and which is more important than just mere numbers. In terms of the quality, there is a really particular value of these initiatives as they are reflecting directly the needs of the people in their respective communities and in their countries. The IGF Secretariat will continue to facilitate cooperation mechanisms between the NRIs, making sure that physical distance is never a barrier to cooperation and good solutions for the global world. The internet as one is a global network. As somebody said before me, it really goes beyond any borders. And therefore, all the NRIs need to work as one if we want to make sure that it is the place that we want it to be. So in other words, the Secretariat, together with the NRIs network, will really make sure that the fact that the Caribbean IGF is somewhere far away, for example, from certain countries in Europe, Africa, or Asia, is not a barrier for us to know each other and to work together to inspire each other with good practices, to learn from maybe our mistakes, our bad practices, and make sure that we have a speedy progress made on making sure that the internet governance ecosystem is the place we want to be. In addition to these 5 sessions that I mentioned that the NRIs will be hosting at the IGF, and the organization is really going into its finishing phase. We are putting together lists of speakers coming from different NRI communities, good moderators to make sure that they steer these really complex discussions which have localized specificities. But in addition to that, there will be other opportunities for the NRIs to meet, to make sure that they raise their visibility, and to make sure that they make a significant impact on the digital public policy discourse. One of the opportunities is the booth at the IGF Village. That is a space where all the NRIs who will be represented by some of their members at the IGF in Kyoto physically will have a space where they can meet each other, but where they can also present the good work happening in their countries and regions. And I hope that from the Caribbean region, there will be a good representation of all the NRIs that exist there, that you will have opportunity, if you haven't done so, to meet other NRIs from other regions. Please do bring your materials, exhibit them at that NRI's booth at the IGF Village, and talk to other stakeholders. Make sure to expand your networks. Just the fact that the Caribbean IGF is hosted at the Caribbean region doesn't mean that it doesn't need attention from the world, just quite the opposite. You are really living in a very specific region. I spoke about that yesterday, some very specific issues that the region is exposed to, but also incredible potential, incredible solutions that the world really deserves to learn from. And I hope that through the IGF in Kyoto, you can have that space to spread the word about the good things happening and about the needs that the region is seeking. With that, I just want to say a couple of words about the rest of the program. So beyond the NRIs, as those are valuable opportunities for the NRIs to engage in. So one of the important parts is the high-level leaders track. It's a set of a couple of sessions which is co-organized by the host country, the government of Japan, as well as the UN side of the organization of the forum. And there we expect to see some remarkable names in terms of their expertise related to different stakeholder groups. So we expect heads of different governments to be there, but also CEOs of different companies, leadership from different non-governmental organizations, academic and research institutions, as well as expertise from those coming from the technical domain, and certainly from all other disciplines. So it would be good to have the NRIs actively participating in those sessions and ask questions which are needed to ask, because we don't have often opportunities to ask the critical decision makers about the issues that are affecting us and that can be resolved. So they just need to be recognized, and awareness needs to be raised for a vision to be put in place for good solutions to come. Finally, if in the region there are members of parliaments, and I'm sure there are, who are interested to tell us more about the work that they're doing in terms of the legislation in their countries, or who would like to learn from others how that is done, then the IGF parliamentary track is a good place to do that. We are hosting it once again this year. Now it's already a traditional track, capacity development forum, where legislators from around the world will gather in Kyoto to speak about various issues which relate to regulation of the certain areas of digital governance, but also other areas such as capacity development, for example, which I know is recognized by our agenda on a couple of instances. And finally, I said that yesterday, but I again invite young people to join the IGF's Youth Track and the IGF 2023 Global Youth Summit hosted at Day 0 of the IGF. Not just young people, all of those who agree that we must invest our resources, that we must put our attention on young people. So senior stakeholders, please also join the summit, have your say there, because we are really dependent on all the voices that we can get to ensure that we really have good comprehensive understanding of the issues that exist across the world, and also to hopefully be inspired with ways how to resolve those issues. With that, I sincerely thank you for this opportunity, and as always, at your disposal to respond to any of the questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Gengo. Mr. Rodney Taylor, SG.
Yes, thank you, Anja, and thanks, Kevon. Thanks for the very insightful presentation. My question is a bit of a selfish one. As you know, we do have our open forum, and how do you ensure that there's good participation? I know there will be a number of competing sessions, and of course, we have to make it interesting and to spread the word to our stakeholders. But what are some of the ways in which we can ensure there's good participation there on the ground? Thank you.
Yes, well, thank you very much to Mr. Secretary General Rodney for this good question. Yes, I am aware, and on behalf of the Secretariat, I would like to thank you, first of all, for every year organizing valuable sessions at the IGF, including the Open Forum this year. And you are right, it's a competitive agenda at the IGF. Usually there are 11 parallel streams, which means that when you're hosting a session, in parallel to that session, there are at least 10 sessions which are hosted by other organizations. But I think the encouraging fact is that, first of all, your Open Forum is certainly focused on an issue that is of global relevance and subject for the attention of the global community. There is a strong participation always from the region as well. So I'm sure that that will be recognized. But we do invite you to also join the IGF Secretariat's efforts to try to promote the sessions as much as possible. I think we are lucky to live in times when the social media are on the rise, and I know that there are certainly also harmful sides, but one good side is that we have this basically free source of promoting our sessions and promoting the importance and value that the session will send. The Secretariat really is at your disposal to work with you to help promote it. It's a good opportunity also to use to inform other participants who have registered for the IGF to invite them and send maybe a personalized invitation. So we can certainly work together on that to do that as well. And any other way in terms of the marketing and outreach that you can think, please let us know. The NRI network is always, I think, a powerful way to send the message and to invite stakeholders to join you. I think Nigel, as the coordinator of the Caribbean IGF, who is very active with the NRI's network, is also aware of this. And maybe I invite Nigel that we work together to send an invitation to the NRI's network to join your session, whether online or on site, as well as to other networks, such as the Network of Dynamic Coalition. Many of them are represented on site in Kyoto. Many of them, of course, participate online. So those are also good opportunities to enrich the participation in your session.
Wonderful. We do have a question from the online community. This comes from Deidre Williams. Is there an IGF policy to facilitate everyone's input in a huge face-to-face meeting with a huge virtual participation as well?
Thank you very much, Deirdre, and very nice to see you participating in this meeting this actively. Yes, so there are various internal strategies of the IGF, and one of the challenges is really how do you reflect all the valuable inputs that do come into every single discussion point or discussion session at the IGF into the IGF's outputs. So in that sense, the concept of rapporteurs is very important to the IGF, and we will be in the next couple of days and next couple of weeks before the IGF, we will be also concentrating our efforts in cooperating with rapporteurs to ensure that all the reflections are taken into the session reports meaningfully. Then the rapporteurs on the side of the UN working on the basis of those reports will make sure that those inputs are reflected into the final output, which are called the messages of the IGF. In addition to that, the concept of the remote hubs is very important. We have the remote hubs which are placed around the world where we are trying to facilitate their collective input coming into the IGF. So the IGF Secretariat provides some capacity development within its capacity to the hubs as well. And we work with the session organizers to prioritize participation from the hubs in the sessions when they come. Nothing of this, of course, is of absolute nature, and I'm sure you will understand that as organizers of the IGFs around the world as participants. Time is always limited. So sometimes we are aware that there are those who may not have opportunity to say everything that they want to say. There are creative ways to solve this. For example, some of the session organizers, they do work on creating ways for taking comments and inputs beforehand, so before the session. And there is definitely a way where we are taking inputs and comments after each session, or better yet, after the forum. Some of you will know that, for example, the outputs of the IGF, as well as the reports of various session organizers, are subject for consultations following the conclusion of the sessions or of the forum, depending on what's the subject matter. But those are some of the ways that we are trying to engage all the people. We welcome, of course, advice, any good advice that you may share from your experience on how to make this concept of inclusion even more meaningful into the IGF. Thank you.
Tracy, You can go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hello, Anja. How are you? I'm wondering if you can give us any, I don't want to put you on the spot, but any insight into what the Secretariat is thinking about in terms of the Digital Cooperation Forum and the Summit of the Future, and how the IGF fits into that, or how the IGF is preparing itself to fit into that, and maybe explain to the CIGF folks a bit about the leadership panel and what is happening there, because I think there's maybe some disconnect about what's happening in terms of the next steps, and it'll be good, I think, for some of us on the room at least to get on a record, what's happening, and maybe your thoughts from the Secretariat's perspective as to how that's, what the plans are for that.
Thank you very much, Tracy. Also very nice to see you in this meeting. Yes, those are important points, and I spoke at the beginning about the political momentum of this year and what's coming to us by 2025. Certainly, the concept of the Global Digital Compact, what I mentioned, as well as this new proposed forum, is something that is new, and the IGF Secretariat also waits for the consultations to start among the member states on all these proposals, including on this proposed forum. The Secretariat, certainly, as Chengetai said at the opening, is aware of the fact that this community has worked hard for the past 2 decades and achieved a lot through the business processes, starting from the scratch when the concept of internet governance in the traditional intergovernmental concept was not that known. It really reached now the level where the concepts of multi-stakeholder internet governance, bottom-up, open, inclusive, transparent, all the principles that the IGF initially brought by the word of its mandate into the UN, but also into the community, are now widely recognized. And that's, I think, a great achievement thanks to every single stakeholder, individual or organization that has been involved in the business processes, in the IGF processes for years. Certainly, I said it at the beginning, and I repeat, the concept of the NRIs, just the fact that this exists around the world has really added, I think, to this awareness raising and concrete actions. And you know that, for example, in the high-level panel on digital cooperation, deliberations and their report, then after in our common agenda of the Secretary General, the concept of the NRIs has been recognized specifically. The concept of the IGF has been recognized, and there have been calls for this concept to evolve further, to advance, to strengthen its stakeholder engagement. The Secretariat certainly supports that. It sees a huge achievement that's been made so far, and we see a huge potential that can be made even further through the processes that we have. We are expanding and strengthening the processes as well. For example, Tracy, you mentioned the leadership panel. The leadership panel has been introduced de facto last year, and it's been chaired by Mr. Windsor, the known father of the internet, I think, to everyone. And Ms. Maria Ressa is the vice chair. And that group is also working hard in ensuring that we elevate the visibility of the IGF and also its impact. So just recently, they met in person here in Geneva for the 2nd time, following their in-person meeting in Vienna. They're meeting continuously online and discussing on various issues. One of the strategies that the panel is working on is to ensure that the IGF is better connected to other processes, that the concept as such of the values and principles is brought together to other stakeholders which are not maybe present into IGF discourse, including the member states, but including also the important other players, such as different tech companies of different sizes, other civil society organizations, technical community, which is very important. And so that would be the views of the Secretariat and the position. We will continue certainly strengthening and nurturing the IGF as a forum. And institutionally speaking, we are always open and aware that we need to continuously advance, given the fact that technologies are changing rapidly and they are advancing, becoming more sophisticated. So it's just natural that the processes need to also be able to follow that technological pace. And I think the members of the multi-stakeholder advisory group are also very much aware of that, and they're trying to advance, for example, the program every year. So some of you who are traditionally participating in the IGF, you can see probably the changes that the structure includes, including the design of the annual program, but also of the intersessional work with some new formats introduced in the past couple of years. In terms of the consultations and the Summit of the Future that's been announced, we certainly think it's very good that the awareness is raising and that the momentum is gained, where the particularly member states will be speaking about the digital cooperation, about internet governance, because that means that we will be introducing the concept of multi-stakeholder model into, well, more maybe meaningfully into the discussions of certain governments where that wasn't the case in past. So that's something certainly that is a positive thing, and the Secretariat is supportive of that momentum that is gained now. And I'm just looking at my notes whether I missed something, but I think in short that would be it. The leadership panel will be meeting in person in Kyoto as well. There will be open sessions, and I think that's a very good opportunity to ask these questions, which are very important, that Tracy asked. The first time that they met with the community, interacted with the community, was last year during the IGF in Addis Ababa. That's when the vision was placed. Now we have 1 year after in Kyoto, and I think it's a very good opportunity to understand what has been achieved against that set vision and what's the plan for the 2024 and beyond. So with that, thank you very much. I am Tracy, if this response, I'm happy to take follow-up questions, of course.
We actually have one more question from the online community. This is coming in from Anil. What advice do you have for organizations who should be more inclusive of stakeholders who can contribute to IG? This is in reference to TT Mag not allowing individuals.
Yes. Thank you very much. That's an interesting question. I have to admit I was not aware of that. I would say rule, probably that in terms of references are with the Trinidad and Tobago IGF because of their autonomy and independency. Certainly, I think it would be fair to give the floor back to the leadership of the Trinidad and Tobago IGF to respond to this. But I can respond for the sake of the IGF on that question. Inclusion is extremely important. I'm emphasized during the responding to previous questions a couple of times the value of individuals and the value of organizations as well, which are collectively called the stakeholders. So I do think that it's very important to have individuals meaningfully engaged in our processes. So, for example, if you look at the IGF's composition of the multi-stakeholder advisory group, then you will see there persons who are holding expertise and interest in internet governance coming from different countries, different regions, different stakeholder groups, serving in their personal capacity, but keeping linkages with their stakeholder groups. And that probably sends, I hope this responds and sends a very important message about the strategic way to engage everyone. Sometimes agents of change in certain countries, and I've seen this numerous times, I'm sure you as well more than me, sometimes agents of change are really individuals. You don't need strong institutional backing to make a change, especially when it comes about digital public policy, just because it's so nuanced and anyone can do something within our capacity, including from yourself to build your own digital literacy, make sure that you behave responsibly online, and then, of course, going into bigger things. But I repeat concretely on the terms of references of the Trinidad and Tobago, IGF, I think it would definitely make more sense for colleagues to respond to this question than me.
Thank you for that, Anja. Can we get a warm round of applause? All right. Now, Ms. Morris, I see that they gave you a mic. Did you want to quickly chime in, or? Oh, Tracy, I didn't. Okay, Tracy, do you want to jump in, Tracy?
Absolutely, yes. The issue is not that individuals cannot participate in the TT-MAG. I think that's maybe maybe a misunderstanding of what Jacqueline was saying. The TTI, first of all, the TTIGF is different from the TT-MAG. So the TTIGF allows individuals to participate all the time and any time of the year, the TTIGF specifically. The TT-MAG is an organizational entity that is set up under the laws of the country. And unfortunately, the way the governance structure of the bylaws are set up, and the way the boards are elected and so on, it doesn't facilitate individual membership in the current structure. What we do encourage members to do, individual members, is to join the members of the TT-MAG, because the TT-MAG is an aggregate of organizations. So for example, if somebody wants to participate in the TT-MAG, it's better to do it through the Internet Society Trinidad and Tobago chapter, or the Trinidad and Tobago Computer Society, or Soroptimus International, or the Rotary Club, or whoever that have joined the TT-MAG. There are no fees to join those organizations, and they're free to join. And that's what we do when folks ask. The way the TT-MAG is governed and structured according to its bylaws is based on organizations and stakeholders, as Jacqueline was communicating. So it's not necessarily a case of we don't want individuals to join the TT-MAG itself. It's just that the governance approach is that they can join the individual entities within the TT-MAG, which they're free to do so. But the TTIGF is not limited to organizations. It's actually open to everybody, and it's open throughout the year. And for those who are interested, we'd love to see you throughout the year. We don't see as much of you as we should. We would love to see individuals participate and join and ask us to do more. Except maybe it's good to have a question like this today. So I encourage Anil and others who are interested in talking to the TTIGF folks. Everything is there. Jacqueline, it sounds like she's in the room. You can talk to her. There's a website, igf.tt. There's an open forum, which is very, very, very sparsely populated. Feel free to put your comments there. We have a call for topics. Individuals can put their names there, can participate in the planning of the TTIGF. So I don't think maybe there was a misunderstanding of how the individual issue was addressed. Thanks very much.
Thank you for the clarification, Tracy. Can we get one last round of applause for Ms. Anja? Thank you for your insights and remarks and contributions. So now at 12:30, we are getting set to go for lunch. So we have a nice, lovely lunch if you are in the room. If you have joined us online, you want to come back for 1:30 p.m. and we have more insights and more workshops happening after lunch break. So join us back at 1:30 p.m. and we'll see you guys and gals soon.